All right, Clint from the doorway too, hanging out with Josh from Cash. Uh, just glad to meet you. Glad to have you here. Glad to be able to talk about your band and your music, man. So,
Yeah, likewise.
cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do with the band and a little bit about the history of the band, since it's going to be new to most of my folks here.
For sure, yeah. So I'm the drummer in Cash. I also wrote a lot of the music. And I guess kind of how it started was it was just kind of an offshoot for me. I just started writing songs and then got together with my buddy Pete and started putting it together, recruited the rest of the guys, and kind of went from there. And honestly, it's just it's a really fun project. I'm playing with all the guys that kind of got me into the local Minneapolis scene. So it's just been a fucking dream, man. It's great. It's
cool.
Great experience.
Very cool. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about is the reason why Cash got me kind of interested and wanted to talk to you, and why I like this release so much is I'm going to be 51 on Thursday, right? So I literally grew up during the heyday of noise rock and kind of stuff like that. So
yeah.
Sure. So you remind me very much of two kind of distinct styles that mesh together so well. So it's kind of like the Rep touch and go noise rock scene, and then kind of the Victory and Revelations kind of late 90s, early 2000 hardcore. So if I mix bands like Hammerhead, The Cows, Jesus Lizard, the Melvins, Tar, with bands like Kiss It Goodbye or Dead Guy or Integrity, I feel like if you smash all that together, that's kind of where you guys are coming from. Is
nice.
Is that true, or are you guys coming from a completely different place?
No, I think that's totally accurate. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of Cows, but I mean, we're from Minneapolis. Cows is fucking awesome. I'm not a diehard, I will say that, but I mean, everything else that you're talking about is definitely, yeah, we're in that vein. I guess for me personally, the influences are kind of going back to what got me into music in the first place. That was kind of where I wanted to come from when I was writing some of this stuff. And yeah, definitely Melvins. Melvins was huge for me. Dale Crover was huge as a drumming influence. And just the kind of the songwriting and the sound. And then kind of later on, I guess Floor was a big influence. Nice. Just because I think they do heavy, simple music just really artfully well. And so they were a huge influence on me. Floor, Caius, early Queens of the Stone Age, Floor, Torch, all those type of bands, just kind of like bands that are heavy but also seem kind of like they're having fun. Because I played in hardcore bands and I played in other bands, and there's that's my favorite type of music is the stuff that's heavy but also definitely has that fun element to it.
Very cool. So what I'll say here is just a touch for Floor. I was in a band called Grizzle, and we put an album out. We toured the East Coast of the U.S. When we went to Miami, we got to play with Cavity and Floor, and it was one of the greatest shows we ever got to do ever. So, man, it was very cool.
That's awesome, man. Heck yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about the sound of the band, because it's kind of deceiving, because you listen to it first and you hear the brutality and intensity of it, but at the same time there's this sick melody to it as well too. Okay, the more I listen to the cassette over and over again, the more I hear all right, I can hear, and maybe I'm crazy, but I can kind of hear those Minneapolis kind of indie rock sound elements in your stuff. And what I'm talking about is old school stuff. So old school Soul Asylum, old school Husker Du. You can hear that stuff in what you do. Was it hard to be able to mix those two drastically different styles together?
I don't know if it was hard. I mean, I guess what I would say is that I have no idea I'm a drummer. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm writing this stuff on bass. I picked up bass after I was playing drums for many years. And to me, I guess I just always was I want it to be hooky. I want it to be catchy. The melody is kind of what I'm always focused on. but so yeah, the heaviness, you're right. Like off the gate, that's the first thing you're going to notice is that it's through a hardcore lens. I mean, there's no way you can, you know, get around that. I mean, all the bands I've played in are hardcore bands. I just kind of, that's where I'm at, is that, you know, everything that I do musically is going to have that hardcore lens to it. I think that it's just kind of like innate. And just kind of the scene that I played in. I was in a band called Aziza, and we played in that scene for, you know, I think we started in like 2015 or something. So that, yeah, there are a lot of the bands that in Minneapolis, it feels like whatever genre they're playing in, they are playing a little bit of hardcore. I mean, you just can't get away from it. And I mean that as like a beautiful thing, not a disparagement whatsoever. So yeah, I guess where I came from was just trying to write stuff that was hooky and heavy, and just trying to write, you know, some banger songs. So
cool. So the only negative thing I've seen in some reviews or some people I've been talking to is they get taken back by how harsh the vocals actually are. All right.
For sure.
So I kind of want to ask you, like, to me, it works really well because we're talking about this kind of music. And of course, you know, this is the kind of stuff I love. But do you feel like there's a limitation when you have that kind of extreme throaty vocals throughout an entire release?
Definitely. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I gotta be honest. When I got into music, I did not like harsh vocals. I liked metal. Stoner metal, stoner rock was my like gateway drug into metal because I loved the riffs and I just couldn't get on board with the heavy vocals at first. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are in that realm, and then something happens, you know, whatever band it is, if you listen to, you know, if it's, you know, Sleep and you're listening to Dope Smoker or whatever bridges the gap, you're going to get into the harsh vocals. You know, I saw Converge live and I wasn't a huge fan of them at first, and now they're like one of my favorite bands. So nice. I feel like it really is just kind of there is a little bit of a barrier there for some people, you know, a barrier to entrance to the genre. But yeah, so I could definitely see that with the vocals. I always wanted, you know, I kind of, you know, at the beginning of this is like, should I do vocals? Because I used to do vocals in Aziza. And then I was like, no, I'm just going to focus on drums and give that to somebody else. I don't have to worry about it. You know, at a certain time, at a certain point, you're just kind of like a little lazy and you just want to focus on playing your instrument. And so we brought Kyle in, and I think he really just like totally embodied what I was going for with it. Just kind of harsh, snotty punk vocals over this stuff. And, you know, for me, you know, I think you're right. It could be a barrier for some people, but I think, you know, it's just kind of that one of those take it or leave it things at this point.
No, absolutely. So the thing I was going to say is it works so well because if you take the time and really listen to the songs, the melody and the music with the ferocity of the vocals is kind of like a whole picture. And that's what and that's why I think what you're doing is a little more interesting in some bands. A lot of the bands that are kind of doing more noise rock are kind of just in your face snotty. You're not in your face snotty. There's layers and elements and like different tonalities through it. So I hope it doesn't limit the band at all. I'm just saying, like, I've seen some reviews and some feedback where like, I guess in the noise rock scene, like this kind of vocal style is not the normality. So it's taken people back. So like, that's it.
Yeah, it's not the shouty kind of talky vocals that people are looking for sometimes with this type of music, which I'm a huge fan. I love, you know, Chat Pile is like the band right now that's like doing that the best, you know. So that's definitely like one way of doing it. But I like hardcore, I like metal, I like you know, all those, you know, I think that we're trying to do something that kind of does bridge the gap between those worlds. So I wouldn't say it's you know, exactly noise rock specifically. You know, we definitely have a lot of hardcore and metal influences. But you know, I think that people that like noise rock could like us too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I was going to go next is if someone asked you, like in 4 words, how would you describe the band to someone who's never heard it before?
Oh man, that's tough. I guess I would say it's, you know, I guess I don't. This isn't 4 words, but it's trying to take the dumbest ideas and do it the smartest way possible. So in that way, I feel like it's really accessible. So it's just, you know, dumb, heavy, hooky, catchy, whatever.
Cool. No, that works. That works awesome. Yeah. So that's kind of what I tell people. So when I'm gonna play it for them, so I played this for a couple people. I kind of tell them like, listen to the Bullhead by the Melvins, and then I said, listen to Integrity. Throw the 2 bands together, and you got Cash. All right, like that's literally what you got. It's sludgy, it's heavy, it's noisy, it's punk inspired. Sometimes I'll be honest, like I feel like you're like 1 step away from driving off the rails, man. Like it's like that's how chaotic it is, but you always pull it back. So like that's the very cool thing, and that's why I try and tell them like there's a beautiful melody in the nightmare that you're listening to. So like that's kind of like, you know, the way I give it. And when people listen to it, they agree with me so much that there's a strong Melvins influence. And I was going to talk to you about this, and you kind of threw it in there. I was going to ask you if like Dale was a big influence, because the way you play drums, it sounds like old school Melvins. So
thanks, man. That's huge. That's I really appreciate that. Yeah, Dale Crover and Dave Grohl are always going to be where I came from. I mean, that's why I started playing drums. I mean, nice. Yeah, Songs for the Deaf was like, that was it. I you know, I heard that in middle school, and there was no turning back. I was
nice.
I was going to ruin my life playing drums, you know? So that was it for me. I mean, that album, I mean, those are the things that I wanted to do when I was writing this, was just kind of hit those, have the melody there, but still be heavy. And, you know, that record's untouchable. I mean, no one had, you know, it's been out for what, almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think any rock band has touched that album since, you know, in that combination. So I'm not comparing this to that at all, but that's what I was trying to emulate or come from, is just having that sense of melody. So if I, you know, if I could come close at all, it would be huge for me. But that's where I came from, is just like a Dave Grohl worship. I love Dale Crover. You know, I just love those bashy, just tight kind of, you know, beats and riffs.
Very cool. So am I mistaken? But this is only released on cassette and digital, right? Like there's no other formats.
Yeah, so, that's correct. Yep.
Is there a reason why you limited it to just a physical cassette versus any other format?
You know, I always want to do vinyl, but, you know, vinyl is just a little bit of a stretch sometimes. Cassettes are super easy, and they seem to just kind of, you know, fly off the shelves when you're playing shows and stuff. So we just did a limited run for now. Our guitarist is, he's having a kid, so we're just taking a break for a second.
Gotcha.
So we just wanted to do a really limited run and sell those out, and then start writing new stuff and start playing shows in a little bit. And so, yeah, we're just on like a kind of a soft hiatus for like the next 3 months, and then we're going to start playing shows again, and we're writing in the meantime. So we're not on a break or anything like that, but I'm really excited about the new stuff that we got going on as well. So
cool. So let's talk about the new stuff for a minute as well, too, because like I said, this is just kind of an EP getting a taste of the world for us. If I was to ask you, what's the major differences and what's the major similarities between what the new material is going to be like versus the old, what would you say?
I think it's the same vein, obviously. I think it's just kind of doubling down on what we're doing a little bit, adding some more electronic elements a little bit, just as far as like some synth stuff and some like samples, there is a little bit of that on the first record, but just kind of doubling down on that being the sound, and just going for it heavier and harder, but maintaining that melodic center.
Cool. So live, so if I went to see you live, listen to the tape, what differences would you say there would be for me seeing a live experience?
I mean, we're definitely trying to match it as much as possible. I guess whenever I see bands, I go in expecting it's not going to be the record, but you know, usually the bands I like when you go see them, you're like, that was better than the record, right? Because they're bringing that energy and just bringing that kind of, like you said, chaotic, almost going off the rails a little bit, but always, you know, keeping it in the margins. That's kind of what I expect from bands that I like. So I'm hoping that we're we're accomplishing that as well, for sure.
Cool. Is there anything that's off the table? Like, is there any style or influence you wouldn't throw into the band?
Well, I gotta say, you know, I listen to a lot of metal. I wouldn't consider myself a metalhead, which is kind of weird. I feel like that's you know, almost like a contradiction or whatnot. But so I guess my point, I don't think there's anything off the table as far as influences. But I don't think we're, you know, we're not gonna be writing any tech death riffs or anything like that. I mean, I don't know if I'm that good of a songwriter or a guitar player to be able to pull that off. So I guess as far as anything be off the table, it would only be it's too proggy or too, you know, technically proficient to be there. But that's, you know, that's not really what we're going for. I mean, we're, you know, like I said, I think some bands they're so good that they almost overwrite the material, where, you know, they kind of say, look what I can do. Yeah. And kind of forget to write a song. And I've always been, like I was saying before, I've always been somebody that's like, take the dumbest idea, make it the smartest thing that you've heard, rather than play the smartest thing and then you're doing it in kind of a dumb way. Because I feel like a lot of people's ears are not going to prick up for that. They're kind of going to shut down because it might be, for whatever reason, it might be above them as far as, you know, a listener. There are some bands that are just not, that are going to be over the heads of people. And that's fine. Those bands are, I love those bands. I listen to those bands all the time. But I think for some people, they just kind of, they check out. So I guess that's the only thing I would say, is that we're trying to, you know, deliver the riff, as it were.
Gotcha. No, that's completely fair. So kind of splintering off on that, a lot of people will consider this kind of music caveman music, all right, like simple bludgeoning beat. But your lyrics are intense, man. Okay, they're not just like simple one thought process vocals. So, and I'm sure, oh yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people just listen to it for the pure brutality. But like I said, like I love to like just put headphones on, kind of listen to something over and over again and see where it's going. This kind of has a dark direction if you like really listen to the lyrical content that's happening. Was that done on purpose, or is that just kind of what happened as you were writing the music?
I think there was some intent to it. Me and Kyle split the lyric writing duties. So I kind of had a sketch of what I wanted the themes to be, and he kind of picked that up and rode with it. And I think there was some intent to it. I mean, you know, some of the songs are, and most of the songs have one kind of thematic theme. So they're not just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and kind of seeing what sticks, which, you know, I've done that lyrically as well, and that could work. But yeah, it was definitely trying to make it, you know, as clever as you could be within reason, you know, it's, and kind of hitting some raw themes. I don't know, like, I guess I would say El Rudo is my favorite lyrically, just because it was kind of around, it was like about, you know, it's kind of cliche, but, you know, everybody wrote songs about 2016 and what was going on with that. And so it was just kind of funny trying to encapsulate the idea of like how you can be, someone can be a heel, right? So, you know, if people don't know, in professional wrestling, if you're a heel, you're a villain, but people love you anyways because you're the villain. So it's just kind of trying to capture that idea and run with that.
Cool. And I'm a diehard wrestling fan. So
oh, nice. Oh yeah.
As you can see, I have a Forged in Fire shirt. So Blackpool Combat Club is on my chest right now. But yeah, like AEW, WWE, Impact, like all the old school indie wrestling stuff. I love that stuff. So yeah, that was one of the songs in particular that really made me smile, because like I heard the references, and yeah, there may only be 5 of us on the earth that heard that and knew what was going on, but that was the most fantastic moment for me. So,
hell yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm glad you picked it up.
Yeah, awesome. So I kind of want to talk about musically creating the actual record. So you said you write on bass, right? As well as the drum parts. So when you're writing the parts, are you thinking about guitars, or are you just thinking about the rhythm and letting the guitar be like something outside of that?
I would say, I guess I'm not really thinking about the guitars. I wrote the bass parts and then figured out the drums, and those were pretty simpatico with each other. I mean, the way, I didn't mean for it to happen, but the way I guess I write bass parts lends itself to my drumming style, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I don't really think about the guitars. Our guitarist Pete, you know, this project, you know, started in 2019, but we had the pandemic happen, obviously. So he's kind of the original collaborator with me. And he did a ton with just taking, you know, the stuff I had written and just elevating it into these just kind of huge monstrous songs. So I guess I didn't really think about the guitars, but then when I, you know, demoed it out and handed it over to him and I was like, hey, I've got these ideas, and he took a hold of it, it made it into this other thing. You know, he laid down some guitar tracks on it, and it was just like, oh, this is actually something. Like, I didn't know. I had no idea when I started doing this if it would be good, if it would, you know, what it would be. I just kind of had an idea, and I handed it over to him, and he was the one who like really sold me on it. He was like, no, this is good. We can work with this. So.
Very cool. So you're working with Earsplit for promotion. Dave and I have known each other for a lifetime and a half. So I just kind of want, so he's a ride or die kind of fellow. Like, that's the best way I'll say it. Like, he either does it full on or he doesn't do it at all. So taking on a band like you, why do you think Earsplit is pushing it as hard as they do? Why do you think they wanted to work with you to begin with? Like, what was the drive for that? Because like, people don't realize, like, PR people don't have to work with you. They can listen to your music and say, now move along, you know, like,
sure.
Yeah. Why do you think that they're pushing you as a priority versus other bands when you're an independent, like, you're DIY, you know, right now? So.
Yeah. Well, I guess so Dave and Luke had worked together before. Luke is the bassist in Cash, and he was in a band called Blue Ox. He's still in Blue Ox. And Blue Ox, I think you could listen to them and hear some similarities between us and Cash. That band's amazing. Definitely, like, when I was starting to get in the Minneapolis scene, was going to all the Blue Ox shows for sure. So I guess maybe their relationship probably, and I think he just likes it. You know, I would hope that he likes it if he's going to push it.
Very cool. No, awesome. I was just wondering. So like I said, if there was a dream label, like, let's say today you could pick a label and work with, who would it be and why? Oh
man. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, there's some labels that I would want to work with for sure. You know, Gilead is super elusive, and they only put out the best of the best. So that would be awesome to work with them. You know, the first time I really got into them was with Kowloon Walled City. I fucking love that band, and they're just amazing at what they do. They just have this kind of singular aesthetic, just in the band, the sound, the lyrical content, everything. So Gilead would be sick. I've always liked them. And then, you know, if Hydra Head was still around, that would be awesome. Southern Lord, I think that Southern Lord's still going, right?
It is.
Yeah, Southern Lord was the first metal label that I actually followed.
Nice.
Yeah, so like I said, Dave Grohl had he put out a project called Probot.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and I loved that record. I still love that record. It's just, that's how I got into all those, you know, 80s extreme metal vocalists and bands and stuff like that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't know anything about that world, and that record came out and they started you know, digging through the crates and looking stuff up online and figuring out who was who and what was what. So Southern Lord was really big, because that, you know, then I started looking through everything, that all the bands that they had put out, and kind of got into that. You know, I got into Kylesa, I got into all that Southern, you know, Georgia stuff, Mastodon, obviously, all that stuff. So I guess those would be top three. And, you know, AmRep, sure, if they were still around out of Minneapolis. I mean, they're legacy now. They still put out stuff, but they're not really putting out new bands. learning curve from here is kind of just picking up that torch a bit. There's a bunch of bands on learning curve that I love. So as speaking of learning curve, Bummer, I didn't mention them as an influence. I don't know. Have you ever heard Bummer?
I have not.
They are, I would say, unfortunately, they just split up. They had been a band for about 10 years, and they do the kind of hardcore, but still really punk thing very well. I guess I would describe them as if you took the Nirvana record Bleach and you just made that as heavy as possible in 2020 or 2023, whatever. That's Bummer. Like, it's just, yeah, I had a friend, I showed it to a friend and he hated it. And he described it as like, Mom, I don't want to go to bed, like screaming at you. And I was like, yeah, I kind of feel that. But at the same time, like, no, that band's amazing. The riffs are so good. I think we have some DNA there that kind of maybe some cross DNA with them as far as what the riffs and what it sounds like. So I love that band. I wish they wouldn't have broken up.
No, very cool. And just so you know, Aaron from Hydra Head still puts out stuff from time to time. So don't.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah. Because we have this weird relationship. I think you and I, like, we have like been in the same world. So I'm sure, I don't know if you know the band Five that used to be on Hydra Head and Tortuga and stuff. Well, Ben Carr and I were great buddies when I lived in New England in the early 2000s. And he put out a record for me on his label, which is called Odd Halo. And it was distributed through Hydra Head because that's who he worked with. So I got to meet Aaron and talk to him. But yeah, he still does music, and every once in a while, so like, send a demo to him, send some songs to him. You may be shocked. He may like just put out an album for you because it happens from time to time. So.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and I agree with the Southern Lord thing for sure. A lot of people would have never heard black metal and like extreme death metal and like the like proto doom bands without Greg from Southern Lord. So absolutely. As far as the next record and you're working on it, I know you're kind of taking a kind of a soft hiatus. Are we going to see it soon? A long time? Like, is it going to be like a long pause for right now? Or
I don't think so. I would hope not. No, we're working on it right now. I kind of want to get back in the studio. Probably this in the winter, maybe January, if we can. I mean, these guys are all super awesome. They pick up stuff super quick. So if I can, I've got like 10 songs written. I just need to, I've been lazy. I just need to demo them out and get them over to those guys. And once they learn them, we can get back in the studio and start working on stuff. So
cool.
Yep.
So let's talk about the album cover or the tape cover or whatever the hell you want to call it. Okay.
Sure.
It is intense as hell. All right. Every time I look at it, I'm not really sure if I should be scared, if I should be terrified, or if I should just smile because I'm just waiting for like the assault to happen.
Oh yeah, that makes me really happy, man.
How did the artwork come for that, and how do you feel that it plays a role into the songs on this?
I guess as art for me, it's a little, some people say it's a little less important than it used to be, right? Because you would just go to the record store and you'd be looking for stuff. Like I got into Mastodon because I was in the store and saw Blood Mountain.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to buy that. I have no idea what this sounds like, but that looks amazing. I'm just going to buy that. And then I was immediately a fan. So art is definitely important, I think, and plays a huge role. And, kind of maybe somebody that wouldn't listen to you just is intrigued by the art and will turn it on and give it a chance. Right. I guess the art, the image, it's a watercolor painting by Barack Coughlin. He's an artist and he played guitar in Aziza with me, and he did all the Aziza art, and I really love that art as well. And I saw it. I think it was on his Instagram or something. I was like, hey, like, can I use this? Like, this is amazing. And just really like powerful image to me, and I thought it kind of encapsulated what we were going for. you know, just trying to, you know, get that aggressiveness across. But it, you know, it's kind of ugly but beautiful, right? So I guess that's what we were going for.
Nice. So this is kind of a question I ask every band. So that we've dug down this deep now. I want to ask it to you as well too. If there was one artist, and like let's stick to one because I really kind of want to get your thought process on it. If there was one artist that could take one of your songs, record it, and make it their own, who would it be and why?
Oh damn. Yeah. I don't know, man. That's a hard one. You got me. I'm on the spot now. I guess I'm trying to think who would make sense, because it kind of has to make sense. Because I like the first thing that came to my mind was Meshuggah, and which doesn't make any sense unless
that would be awesome though.
It would be awesome, but like I guess I don't know where the double bass drum would. I mean, you could just throw it in there. I guess they've got a couple songs where it's just double bass drum the entire time, so that might work. But there's no like Hertas or anything, you know.
Right.
But so I guess off the top of my head, off the cuff, I'd say Meshuggah. I don't think that's a good answer, but I guess Kylesa might be more in that vein. I love that band. Hearing our stuff with double drums would be super sick. So yeah, I think there's a couple of songs on there that could be in Kylesa's wheelhouse that they could make, you know, amazing. You know, up the ante. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So I was gonna say, because you talk about metal, and I agree. Like, you may not be a metal band, but there's so many metal influences in what you're doing. I would love to hear Carcass do one of your
songs. Yeah.
And because I think those buzzsaw guitars would just like kill it for you guys.
For sure. Yeah. Get some dual HM2s in there. Yeah, that would be sick. That would be awesome. I think there is I said we're not playing tech death, but I get there is some death metal in there for sure. I don't know. You say we're not a metal band, but I feel like we are. I don't know. I feel like we're right on the edge of being you know, the riffs. I think if you just had the guitar tone and the heaviness of it, it's definitely a metal band. Okay. But there's something about it once you add the rest of it that kind of maybe slides it over back to the punk territory.
So I guess I'll have a friendly debate with you right now on this, because I think this is great. I'm gonna say that you're more the school of Dead Guy, Kiss It Goodbye, Converge, where it's hardcore and sludgy with metallic overtones. That's kind of what I hear from you. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you probably win the debate. I guess my point is that like, I think that if you showed it to maybe a hardcore kid, okay, right, somebody like that was like only going to hardcore shows, they might be like, I don't know, it's a little too this, it's a little too that for me. So I think it's still, you know, I think I would like that it stays in the hardcore, you know, almost rock and roll type of vein. Because I when I wrote the songs, I wanted it to be, I was just like, man, I just want to be a heavy punk band. I just want to play some rock and roll songs. Which, you know, if we had someone singing over it, it might be.
Could very well be, man. Like I said, there are a lot of Husker Du elements in what you do. I don't care what anybody says, and I think it's just the area and the region that you're from, because it's ingrained. It's ingrained into so many bands in your area. So
I love the Do, man. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love the Do?
Oh, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, and I think that's one of the reasons that it drew me to it, because you threw that 80s and 90s kind of punk rock vibe in with everything else. So let's talk about Minneapolis and Minnesota in general. There's a very distinct sound, style, thematic element to a lot of the bands that are in that general Twin Cities area. Why do you think that, like Seattle, like you can tell when it's a Minneapolis band, you can tell when it's a Seattle band? Like I could tell from the second listening to your demo tape, oh, these guys are from one of two places. They're either from Chicago or they're from Minneapolis. why do you feel like that sound is so intrinsic to the area?
That's a good question. I'll probably give a shitty answer. The better the question, the shittier the answer, I think. So yeah, I guess I think it's because, I don't know, Minneapolis is weird. I think that Minneapolis is kind of a central kind of meeting point for a lot of different people in the Midwest. So you get a lot of people that are transplants from either, you know, outstate Minnesota or North Dakota or South Dakota or Wisconsin or, you know, just the surrounding Midwest states. And maybe that's the fact that you get all these misfits from these other places that all, you know, move to Minneapolis and then want to play music with each other. So you get these bands that have all these kids that are in a band together that maybe wouldn't be if they were in a bigger city or if they were in a different city or in their same hometown. Because that's been my experience in the scene, is that there's a lot of great bands because people are willing to step out of their comfort zone or their wheelhouse and form these bands with other artists that have a myriad of different influences. So you just get these weird bands, and you know, a lot of them like noise rock because noise rock rules, right? So you get a lot of bands that are doing something that's different, but they also like love the tradition of, you know, hard rock, noise rock from Minneapolis that is made by just people doing weird shit. When I started getting into bands in Minneapolis, I loved Gay Witch Abortion, and they're a two-piece, kind of almost instrumental. They have some vocals on some songs, and they're very just experimental, weird, rock and roll, noise rock, but it's sludgy. The drummer's amazing. He just rips, and probably saw them, you know, more than any other band live in my life. Nice. And they're still going hard. Yeah, there's just something about Minneapolis that's great, that just kind of fosters being able to make weird music and people dig it.
Cool. So outside of Dave Grohl, because I know that you love him and like we've had this conversation, is there anybody you'd like to actually truly collaborate with?
I mean, I guess as far as like for recording purposes, Kurt Ballou.
Oh, nice.
Just because, you know, you get that stamp of approval, and I think some people might listen to your record that might not otherwise. Plus, your record's going to sound amazing, and that just seems like a dream to work with somebody like that. As far as collaborate with, I don't know. Maybe The Body, because they're just, they seem like really good collaborators. Aziza played a show with them once in Louisiana that was amazing, and they just seem really cool. And like, you know, some people I think are just good at doing that, working with other artists and working with other people, and they seem like they're really good at that. So those would be those would be the two for sure.
Very cool, very cool. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of wrap it up from here. What I'm going to give you is the opportunity to talk about what the next 3 to 6 months for you, the band, whatever is going on.
For sure, yeah. So we're working on this new record. I think it's going to be a little bit different than the first one. We're kind of teasing. I don't know if I want to blow it. I don't know if I want to give it away. Let's just say it might be a double record.
Okay.
So yeah, which is kind of weird. We did an EP. It's 6 songs, right? And you get a very nice, concise slice of what we're doing. Based on what we're kind of throwing around as far as ideas right now, it might be a double record or just a longer record. And I don't want to blow it too much about what the outcome of that will be, but we might be able to play like 2 different types of sets going forward, which I think would be really fun, and really kind of expand what the band is and what it's doing. I'm hoping that people dig it, what we're going to do. But I'm really excited about it because everyone in the band is excited about it. And I think that's the most important thing. is everybody being stoked on what's going forward. You know, if you're in a band and you're like, well, I guess we'll just put out another record, probably not going to be a great record. You know, if you're not like excited about, holy shit, we get to do this new thing. I think that's probably when you're going to be putting out the best music, is when you're really stoked on, you know, high on your own supply a little bit, stoked on it, which, you know, that's some of the most fun things about being in a band, is being in that room and having those conversations. Say, what if we did this? What if we did that? Yeah. You know, can we do that? Is that allowed? Like, are people going to be okay with that? And it's like, well, we just put out an EP. Who cares? You know, there's no one to be mad at yet.
Right.
There's no one to be mad at us yet. So I think it could really open the door a bit as far as a fan base goes. And I don't want to give away too much, but maybe me talking about the body gave it away. But
gotcha.
Yeah, so it could be something a little bit like that. So I'm really excited about that. As far as the band going forward, and now it feels like a band. Before, you know, it was me, and I demoed some stuff out, and then Pete got on board, and then we had a couple different lineup changes, and then got the lineup we have now, which is awesome. It's, you know, couldn't have asked for a better lineup and better dudes, and so now it's an actual band, and we've gelled and played together. And now that we're writing stuff, it's kind of like, you know, learning a language, right? So being able to do things quickly and kind of, oh yeah, I get this now, because you've learned these types of riffs before, or you've kind of like, oh, I know what you're going for, because I understand from that last thing that we did. I can kind of extrapolate, and then now I get what you're trying to go for on this one. So that's, for me, that's the exciting part, is that we all had such a good time putting together this EP and going in the studio and recording that. This was the first time that I had worked with Adam Tucker, who Signature Tone Recording. He does a lot of stuff for heavy bands in the cities. So I've always had him mix and master my records, but I'd never tracked with him before. So we did that this last January, and that was just a blast. It was just fun.
Cool.
So yeah, I guess, yeah, as far as next steps, I'm just excited about doing this new stuff and getting back into the studio and working with Tucker again, and putting out more music, and hopefully people jump on the bandwagon, you know?
Very cool. Yeah. Well, like I said, the EP, the self-titled EP, is just amazing to me. So glad I got to speak with you, Josh. Glad we got to talk about it.
Thanks for having me, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime, man. So if you ever come out to the Texas area, let me know. I will definitely come out, see the show, and we'll hang out. So.
Hell yeah. I can't wait, man. We got to get down there. I've played Texas shows before, and they're awesome. So we'll see you there.
Very cool, man. Again, Clint from the Doorway 2, hanging out with Josh from Cash. Thank you very much, man. You have a great Sunday night.
You too. Thanks.